Hello everyone, this is your 8th week of online learning and we are starting our final unit today. This unit is going to be based around narrative writing, story writing. For today's lesson, we are going to be looking at the elements of narrative text. So what I want you to do first before we begin our lesson is just have a look at the word assortment here and see if you recognize any of the words from this. You may think about your previous units and see if they might help you remember some of the terms that are evident here. It might be a good idea to write down some of these words into your interactive notebook where you would usually have your vocabulary section. Once you're finished, you have now got your essential question and your learning objective. I would recommend that you write these down into your interactive notebook as we will be using the interactive notebook throughout this unit. And I will be asking you to send me images of your interactive notebook so that I can grade your work. Our essential question is, what are the elements of narrative or of a narrative? And our learning objective is to identify the elements of narrative text. As I've already said, a narrative is just another word for a story. So task 1, what you're going to need is you're going to need your interactive notebook, okay? And you're going to need this for the next couple of weeks. You're going to have to outline your INB just like we always did in class, with your title, date, essential question, learning objective, and of course, make sure you are using your red pen. We will not have a do now, vocab, or exit ticket as such, but there will be stages where you will be required to write some vocab to ensure that you understand what is happening. So our first bit of information here. I need you to write this down into your interactive notebook. What is a narrative text? A narrative text is writing that tells a story. It can be a made-up story, which is known as fiction, or one that is based on real events, which is known as, well done, yes, nonfiction. The next point there is you've got three different terms. You've got to narrate, a narrative story, or a narrative, and then you have a narrator. To narrate is the verb, okay, so something you do. To narrate is the act of telling a story. Okay, the next one then is a narrative. The narrative is the actual story, which we established at the beginning of the lesson. And finally, you have the narrator. And we know that the narrator is the person telling the story. You should take notes in your notes/activity section about these two bullet points. So what are the elements of narrative text? There are 7 main ones that we are going to be focusing on. Within those 7, there are a number of other sub-elements that we will be focusing on later on in the unit, but for the next couple of lessons, these are the 7 elements that we are going to be focusing on. Try and think about it. What do you think is an element of a narrative text? What do we study when we are looking at a novel or a play? What did we look at? What were those titles that we focused on? Some of you may have guessed, yes, theme, setting, characters. All of these are included, but there are plenty more. You've got point of view, characterization, dialogue, and the last one, plot. I bet a lot of you recognize most of these subheadings. So, just for you to be able to recall these 7 elements that we are going to be coming back to again, here's a trick. Okay, so I am using a mnemonic device here, TSCPCDP. Okay, you can mix them up if you want. So TS, as you can see here, TSCPCDP, and again TSCPCDP. So for me, my mnemonic device for remembering is the small chicken painted cars during parties. You can change it to something even better. Something that might suit you a little better, okay? That will suit your humor and that you think will be easier to remember. And then when you are practicing next time, you'll remember, okay, the small chicken painted cars during parties, the theme, small, setting, chicken, characters, painted, point of view, cars, characterization, during, dialogue, parties, plot. Okay, so that's an easy way to remember it. Some of you might just find it easier to do it in another way, but that's just one technique. So what is theme and what is setting? You should take note of these into your interactive notebook. You should also write down your mnemonic device into your interactive notebook as well so that you can remember it. So you should write down the definition of these into your interactive notebook, and you will be continuing on from this stage later on in the week. So theme and setting are pretty straightforward. You can take note of those into your interactive notebook. So task 2 for today's lesson, what I want you to do is I want you to come up with the answer to the following questions. Okay, so task 2, you have identified the setting of the following text that we have studied. So what is the setting of Call of the Wild? What is the setting of A Midsummer Night's Dream? What is the setting of Mice and Men? The second part then is you identify a theme from the text we recently studied. Okay, what is the theme of Call of the Wild? What is the theme of A Midsummer Night's Dream? And what is the theme of Mice and Men? Pretty straightforward. So, just a reminder for you, have you marked your attendance today? If you haven't, please make sure that you do so. If you're not sure how you can do this, go to Miss Kelly's email with your daily plans. The link is available there, and it's available there every single morning. Don't forget to take your attendance. You are responsible for this every single day.